In Lesson 12, you'll get an introduction to cascading style sheets, or CSS for short. I have to admit, when I started working in web design, CSS was a bit of a mystery to me, and it took a while before I fully understood it. In the following lessons, I'll help you understand how CSS works and teach you some best practices on how to use CSS in the right way to create stunning websites. In this lesson, I'll answer the question, what is CSS? We'll look at the CSS tools in Expression Web 4, in particular, the Apply Styles and Manage Styles panels. And we'll go through 3 CSS examples: global fonts, link styling, and block quotes. The simplest answer to the question, what are cascading style sheets, or what is CSS, is this. CSS applies style to the content. You can see what I mean by inspecting the Vancouver Photo Marathon page. As you can see, when we view the page, you have this nice header that's all text. You have the date here. You have these drop-down menus. There's a sidebar with content, and the main content is laid out in a certain way. If we turn the CSS off on this page, you'll see we're left with only the content of the page itself. And everything is formatted just like we see it inside Expression Web. It's all Times New Roman, all the links are this blue with an underline under it, and everything is aligned to the left. You even see here there's a block quote. Turning the styles back on again, the layout is completely different. We can do this because using CSS, you have separated the actual content of the page from the style code of the page. For the Photo Marathon page, the style is actually contained in a separate file altogether. We can take a look at it here. As you can see, there are hundreds of lines of code, and all this code has to do with how the content is presented on the web. Now, the reason why you want to separate the style from the content is twofold. First off, if the style is separated, it means that you can create new pages and edit those pages without having to worry about how they are displayed. The second reason is that with the styles separated from the content, you can change the look and feel of a website without having to touch the content itself. In short, it means rather than changing every single page, if you're only doing style changes, you can change one single document, and those changes are applied to all your pages. In my view, the true power of Expression Web 4 lies in how it handles cascading style sheets, or CSS. What I mean by that is, Expression Web comes equipped with a set of tools that make it so easy to handle CSS that it's almost like child's play. You don't even have to have a complete understanding of how CSS works to create extremely advanced websites with fancy layouts. To see just how easy it is, let's apply some styles to the default.html page. Open the page in split view and close the toolbox panel. We don't need that one. In the 2 prior lessons, I told you needed to have a basic understanding of how HTML works to be able to understand CSS. And now you'll see why. CSS is based on tags, or rather, the style code in CSS is applied to the tags on your page. That means, for example, if I want to change the appearance of my H1 headers, I create a style called H1 that contains all that information. That way, when the browser encounters an H1, it'll apply the style in the H1 style to that text. Knowing this, we can make sweeping changes to our page. If you remember back to the prior lesson, I told you that all the visible content on a page is contained within the body tag. We can use that to apply sweeping changes to the entire page. For example, if you want to change the font family of all the text on your page, all you have to do is create a style that's called body that contains information about what font you want to use. So let's do that. Go to the Apply Styles panel and click this New Style button. This opens the New Style dialog. Under Selector, click the drop-down menu and find Body. Anything we now do inside the New Style panel will be applied to the body of the page, which means all the content. In this case, we just want to change the font family found under the font category. Use the drop-down again and set it to Arial Helvetica Sans Serif. Click OK, and you'll see immediately all the font has changed from Times New Roman to Arial. You can now save the page and preview it in your browser, and you'll see everything is Arial, and if we go and turn off the styles, everything reverts back to Times New Roman. So where is all the style information right now in your page? It's in the head tag. The head tag, unlike the body tag, is where you contain all the information that is not visible in the browser. Information like your keywords, your description, the author name, the title of the page, and now also the styles. You see here there's a new tag called style. The syntax of a CSS style is very simple. You have the name of the style, followed by a squiggly bracket, and then the different style information. In this case, font family, Arial Helvetica Sans Serif. Let's create a new style. The number one request I see from people who are starting out with web design is they want to change the look of hyperlinks. No one seems to like this dark blue with an underline. So let's do that. Click inside the sign view and navigate so you can see your hyperlinks. Then click New Style and use the drop-down to select A. A, as you remember, is the anchor or the links. Drag your New Style dialog to the side so you can see your hyperlinks on the side here. Now let's first get rid of the underline. Under the font category, you'll see there's this text decoration option that has underline, overline, line through, blink, and none. By default, links have underlines. So to remove them, you check text decoration, none. Click apply, and you'll see all those underlines disappeared. If you want to change the color, simply go to color, drop it down, and select from one of the standard colors, or click on this box next to it, and you open a color window where you can pick any color you want. Let's use a more subtle blue, like this light blue here. Click OK, and apply again. And you see now our links have this light blue color. OK, and you see in the head we now have two styles, body and A. We can also create what's called pseudo styles. These are styles that are applied when certain things happen to elements on the page. The easiest example of a pseudo style is a link. Links actually have 4 stages. There's the link stage, which is the default stage you see right now. There's the hover stage, which is when you're hovering your mouse over the link. There's the active stage, which is when you are clicking down on the link. And there's the visited stage, which is when a link has been visited earlier. You can create a separate pseudo-style for each of these stages so that the links change appearance based on how you interact with them. To do so, go to New Style again, and in the selector, write A, hover. This is for the hover stage when the mouse hovers over the link. We can go to color and change the color to purple, and click OK. You'll see that now a new style has been created, this A:hover, that has a different color than the regular A link. If we save the page and preview it in the browser again, you'll see that now your links are light blue, and when we hover over them, they turn purple. You can create separate pseudo-styles for each of these stages, but let's just leave it at the simple A and A hover for now. But styles aren't limited to just font and color. You can pretty much control any element of your design using CSS. Let's look at the block quote to see what is possible. Let's first navigate down to the block quote so we see it. And then we'll apply a new style called block quote this time. We'll find it on the drop-down menu. And let's make a variety of changes here. Let's change the font family for the block quote to Cambria Cochin. We'll change the font style to italics. And we'll change the color to green. We can also go to the background category and change the background color. Let's pick a light blue. Click OK, and OK. Now, when we look at the block quote, you'll see, apart from looking terrible, it now has a different font, the text is green, and the background is blue. If we don't like the appearance of the style we just created, we can make changes to it. Go to the Manage Styles panel, and here you'll see a list of all the styles in our current page. If we want to change the block quote, simply right-click on the block quote, select Modify Style, and the Modify Style dialog opens. From here we can make changes. Let's say, for instance, I want to change the background color to a different blue, and I want to make it lighter. Click Apply, and you'll see the changes appear. Then, I can add a little bit of padding to the box to leave space between where the blue starts and the actual text. I'll simply go to Box and add 10 pixels of padding. Apply, and you'll see the text now has more breathing space. Finally, I'll change the font color to a darker blue. Click Apply, and click OK. Now this looks much better than what I had before. So far, we've merely scratched the surface of what is possible with CSS, and as you progress through these lessons, you'll see that the possibilities are virtually endless. In the next lesson, we'll cover something that's a little bit off the main track. It's called a CSS reset. This is a very important tool, and I use it in all my sites, but it's one that's a little hard to wrap your head around, so we'll dedicate an entire lesson just to talking about it, so you understand why it's important to implement very early on in your design process.